Growing up in a family of restaurateurs, I quickly learned that food was more than just nourishment. It was an art form, a legacy, and a powerful way to bring people together. My grandmother's small noodle shop in Chinatown had sustained our family for 3 generations. Watching her expertly craft dishes in the tiny kitchen shaped my understanding of the world. "Remember, May," she'd say, her hands skillfully folding dumplings. "Good food comes from the heart, not just the ingredients." I'd internalized those words, spending countless hours in the kitchen, absorbing not only recipes but the business wisdom that had helped our family navigate tough times. What no one knew was that I was also pursuing an online MBA, studying late into the night after the restaurant had closed. During the day, I mastered the delicate balance of flavors and the importance of fresh ingredients. At night, I delved into market analysis, business strategy, and corporate finance. My ambition extended beyond running a restaurant. I aimed to revolutionize the food industry. Then, I met James. He walked into our restaurant one rainy Tuesday evening, seeking refuge from the storm. Tall, impeccably dressed, and distinctly out of place, he immediately caught my attention. "What would you recommend?" he asked, water dripping from his expensive coat. "Our hand-pulled noodles with braised beef," I replied without hesitation. "It's perfect for a night like this." He smiled, a smile that made my heart skip a beat. "I trust your judgment." 20 minutes later, I watched as he took his first bite. His eyes widened in surprise, then closed in delight. When they opened again, they locked onto mine. "This is incredible," he said. "I've never tasted anything like it." That moment marked the beginning of our story. James became a regular, visiting 3 times a week, always trying something new. Our conversations began with food but quickly expanded to everything else. He worked in finance at a major investment firm, while I shared stories about the restaurant, carefully omitting my MBA and larger ambitions. 6 months later, he proposed, simple and intimate, just us in the restaurant after closing, over a bowl of the noodles he first tasted. Meeting his family was a different story. The Chens were old money, with a business empire encompassing restaurants, hotels, and real estate. James's father, Richard Chen, was CEO of Chen Global Hospitality, one of Asia's largest luxury hotel and restaurant groups. His mother, Victoria, embodied old-world elegance, while his sister, Amanda, was the company's director of operations. From the start, it was clear I didn't fit their ideal image of a daughter-in-law. A small restaurant? Victoria's perfectly manicured eyebrows arched during our first meeting. How quaint. Amanda's disdain was more overt. "James, you can't be serious. We're Chens. We own restaurant chains, not street food stalls." James squeezed my hand under the table but remained silent, a red flag I chose to overlook. The engagement dinner was a subtle exercise in humiliation. Held at the Chen's flagship restaurant, the Imperial Palace, it was clear they viewed me as an outsider. "May, dear," Victoria called across the table, "it's fascinating that you work in food service. Do you cook everything yourself, or do you have actual chefs?" Before I could respond, Amanda added, "Mother, be kind. I'm sure she does her best with what she has. Not everyone can afford proper culinary training." Drawing on years of customer service experience, I maintained my composure. "I trained under my grandmother." "Whoa. Oh, how sweet," Victoria interrupted. "Family recipes. James, remember our cooking class in Paris with the Michelin-starred chef?" James chuckled uncomfortably. "Mother, please." But the most painful part wasn't their condescension. It was James's silence. He never once defended me or our relationship. What they didn't know was that, while managing my tiny restaurant, I had completed my MBA with honors and developed an AI-driven food service platform poised to revolutionize the industry. My company, Food Tech Solutions, was already valued at over $3 billion, operating in stealth mode. I had kept this private, wanting to be judged for who I was, not what I owned. But as wedding preparations began, it became clear that the Chens would never accept me. The breaking point came during a family dinner at Victoria's mansion. I brought some of my signature dishes to share my heritage. Victoria wrinkled her nose at the containers. "Oh, he brought takeout." "Actually, I made these myself," I said proudly. "They're my grandmother's recipes." Amanda prodded the food with her fork. "How authentic. But for the wedding, we should stick to proper catering. We have a reputation to maintain." James, beside me, focused intently on his phone. The wedding menu is settled, Victoria announced. Chef Pierre from Paris will cater. We can have street food at a Chen wedding. My food isn't. I began, but Victoria raised a hand. May, dear, understand that the Chens are more than a family. We're a brand. Your little restaurant is charming, but it's not up to our standards. After the wedding, we could help you find a more suitable occupation. My phone buzzed. It was an alert. Chen Global Hospitality's stock had plummeted 30% in after-hours trading due to leaked quarterly losses and potential fraud in their restaurant division. Victoria turned ashen. Amanda frantically typed, and Richard barked orders into his phone. James turned to me, pale. I need to go to the office. Family emergency. I stood calmly. Actually, I think I can help. Everyone froze. Help? Amanda sneered, though her voice wavered. Unless you can conjure $500 million, your noodle expertise isn't relevant. I pulled my laptop from my bag. Actually, I'd like to show you something. Victoria waved a dismissive hand. May, dear, this is hardly the time for. Food Tech Solutions, I interjected calmly, turning my laptop around to face them. Have you heard of it? The color drained from Amanda's face. Of course she had. Every major player in the hospitality industry knew about the enigmatic tech company revolutionizing restaurant operations worldwide. Richard lowered his phone, eyes narrowing. What about it? I founded it 3 years ago, I said simply. It's currently valued at $3.2 billion. And yes, Amanda, I can produce that $500 million you need, and more. A heavy silence fell over the room. James gaped at me. But you run a small restaurant. I run several things, James. The restaurant is my passion. Food Tech Solutions is where my business acumen thrives. I turned to Victoria. Those street food recipes you mocked are the foundation of an AI-driven menu optimization system now used by five-star restaurants worldwide. Richard leaned forward, his earlier disdain replaced by keen interest. You're saying you're the CEO of Food Tech Solutions, the company every hospitality group is chasing. The same, I confirmed, pulling up our financials. We're in stealth mode but plan to go public next quarter. Our AI platform revolutionizes everything from inventory management to customer preference prediction. Something your company desperately needs right now. I gestured to Amanda's laptop, showing their dismal financial report. Victoria's hand trembled as she set down her wine glass. But why didn't you tell us? She asked, voice faltering. Would it have made a difference? I asked softly. Would it have made me more worthy of respect? More suitable as a daughter-in-law? The fact that you're even asking speaks volumes. Amanda's face reddened with anger. You expect us to believe you, a restaurant owner, built a billion-dollar tech company in secret? I displayed a screen of patents and proprietary algorithms. Your crisis stems from outdated systems and manual inventory management. These are exactly the issues my technology solves. Richard's business instincts flared. We should discuss this privately, perhaps over dinner at the Imperial. No, I cut in. We'll discuss it here, where you've belittled me for months. You've made it clear I'm not good enough for your family. James finally spoke. May, why didn't you tell me? I looked at him, a profound sadness settling in. I wanted you to stand up for me for who I am, not for what I own. But you never did. Victoria tried to recover. Darling, you must understand. We have standards. Yes, you've made those standards clear, I said firmly. Now let me set mine. Chen Global Hospitality is on the brink of collapse. I can help, but there will be conditions. Amanda's eyes darkened. Conditions? This is blackmail. No, Amanda, this is business. I stood smoothing my dress. You've treated me like I'm beneath you. Now you need my help. Can your pride handle that? Richard's tone turned conciliatory. Name your conditions. First, a complete reorganization of your management. Your leadership is incompetent. I glanced at Amanda, who sputtered indignantly. Second, full implementation of Food Tech Solutions systems across all properties. Your outdated methods are bleeding money. Third, I continued, a public acknowledgement of our partnership and the fact that I, owner of that little restaurant, saved Chen Global Hospitality. Victoria gasped. You can't expect us to. I can. Your stock is in free fall. By morning, you'll have lost half your market value. Your investors are already calling for heads to roll. James reached for my hand. May, please, let's talk. I pulled away. We need to discuss our relationship, James. The room grew silent again. You've let your family insult me, my heritage, and my work for months. You've laughed with them, sat quietly, and never stood up for me. Even tonight, your first instinct was to flee to the office instead of defending me. Tears welled in my eyes, but my voice stayed steady. I don't need a partner who only values me for my wealth. I need someone who would defend me when I had nothing. Victoria rose, her composure slipping. Now see here. No, you see here. I cut her off. I hope to be accepted for who I am. Instead, you've shown me who you are. Accept my terms and save your company or let your pride destroy it. I gathered my things, including the untouched containers of my street food. You have until tomorrow morning to decide. My team will be in touch. As I walked to the door, Amanda called out, "You can't just walk away. This is our legacy." I turned one last time, yes, and you've run it into the ground. If you had focused on innovation instead of judgment, you wouldn't be here. The last thing I saw was James's stricken face, Victoria's trembling hands, and Richard's calculating stare. Their empire was crumbling, and their only hope lay in the woman they had deemed unworthy. Sometimes, karma wears a business suit and carries recipes in takeout containers. The next morning, in my sleek penthouse office overlooking the city, I reviewed our latest AI data. My phone buzzed incessantly. Messages from James, Richard's lawyers, and finally, Victoria herself. My assistant, Sarah, entered with a fresh cup of green tea. The Chen family is in the lobby. All of them. I checked my watch. 7:30 a.m., right on schedule. Give them 10 minutes, then send them up. Those 10 minutes mattered. A negotiation lesson from my grandmother. Let them wait, she'd say. Anxiety seasons any dish. When they finally entered my office, their transformation was stark. Victoria's aristocratic poise had crumbled, Amanda's designer outfit seemed hastily thrown together, and Richard's face wore the strain of a sleepless night. James lingered at the back, looking utterly lost. "The paperwork is ready," I said without preamble, gesturing toward the documents on the conference table. "Shall we begin?" Richard stepped forward. "Before we start, I want to say—" "Save it," I interrupted. "This is a business meeting, nothing more. Your company is hemorrhaging value by the minute. Let's focus on that." For the next 2 hours, we methodically went through the terms. Food Tech Solutions would acquire a 40% stake in Chang Global Hospitality in exchange for emergency funding and the full implementation of our systems. Amanda would step down as Director of Operations, to be replaced by someone from my team. "This is highway robbery," Amanda sputtered, but Richard silenced her with a glare. "It's more than fair," I replied calmly. "You're getting cutting-edge technology, immediate financial stability, and a partnership that will elevate your market value. In return, I gain partial ownership of a company in desperate need of modernization." Victoria, who had remained unusually quiet, finally spoke. "And what about James?" I met her gaze steadily. "James is not part of this discussion. Business and personal matters should remain separate, something your family never seemed to grasp." James stepped forward. "May, please. Can we talk privately?" I considered for a moment before nodding. 5 minutes. The rest of you can review the documents with my legal team. In my private office, James paced nervously. "Why didn't you tell me about any of this?" "Would it have changed anything?" I asked. "Would you have stood up to your family sooner? Defended my little restaurant against their constant criticism?" I was trying to keep the peace. "No, James. You were choosing the path of least resistance. Each time your family insulted me, my heritage, my work, you chose silence. That silence said everything." He ran his hands through his hair, frustrated. "I love you, May. Isn't that enough?" "Love without respect isn't love, James. It's convenience." I stood up. "Your family's company is in crisis because they refuse to adapt, to see value in different perspectives. You're not so different." "Give me another chance," he pleaded. "Now that I understand." "That's the problem," I cut in. "You only want another chance because now you know I'm wealthy and successful. But I'm the same person I was yesterday, running my little restaurant with pride. If you couldn't love and respect that person, you don't deserve to know this one. Back in the conference room, the documents were ready for signing. Richard's hand trembled slightly as he signed away 40% of his family's legacy. Victoria watched with tears in her eyes, while Amanda sat stiffly, barely containing her fury. As the papers were notarized, I made one final announcement. One more thing. My grandmother's restaurant, it's not for sale at any price. It will continue operating exactly as it has for 3 generations. But surely with your resources, Victoria began. That restaurant is my heritage, my heart. It's everything you looked down on, everything you mocked. And it will remain exactly as it is. A reminder that success doesn't always wear a designer label or come with a luxury brand name. Over the next 6 months, Chen Global Hospitality underwent a complete transformation. Our AI systems revolutionized their operations, cutting costs while improving service quality. Their stock not only recovered but soared to new heights. The press loved the story. A traditional family business saved by innovative technology from an unexpected source. James sent flowers, letters, even tried to visit the restaurant. I returned the flowers, left the letters unopened, and had security politely escort him out. Some bridges, once burned, should stay that way. 1 year later, I sat in my grandmother's kitchen, showing her the latest financial reports. Chen Global Hospitality had doubled in value, and Food Tech Solutions was now worth over $5 billion. Ah, but how's the broth? She asked, tasting the day's soup. I smiled, understanding her point. Success wasn't about the numbers, it was about staying true to yourself, your values, your heritage. The restaurant was packed as usual, with a line stretching around the block. Victoria had come by once, months ago, presumably to make amends. She waited in line like everyone else, ate quietly in a corner, and left a generous tip. She never returned, but the gesture was noted. Amanda had moved to Europe, unable to face the humiliation of working under my management team. Richard adapted surprisingly well, finally acknowledging that tradition needed to walk hand in hand with innovation. And James, last I heard, he was dating a socialite his mother approved of. Some people never learn. As for me, I split my time between running a global tech company and making noodles in my grandmother's kitchen. Both brought me joy in different ways, both were equally important parts of who I am. The media often asked about the contrast, a billionaire tech CEO who still works in a small restaurant kitchen. They didn't understand that the restaurant wasn't just a business, it was a reminder of where I came from, who I am, and what truly matters. One evening, as I was closing up the restaurant, a young girl peeked into the kitchen. "Are you really the lady who owns all those big hotels now?" I smiled, handing her a freshly made dumpling. "No, sweetheart. I'm just the lady who makes really good noodles. Everything else is just business." The Chen family thought they were teaching me a lesson about status and worth. Instead, they learned a costly lesson about judgment and pride. Sometimes the most valuable things in life come in the simplest packages, and the most powerful people are those who don't need to prove their power. As my grandmother always said, good food comes from the heart, not just the ingredients. The same is true of success. It comes from integrity, not just assets. I still have the takeout containers from that last dinner at the Chen Mansion. They sit in my office as a reminder. Never let anyone shame you for who you are, and never compromise your values for those who can't see your worth. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't serving a cold dish, it's serving a perfectly prepared one. Seasoned with success, garnished with grace, and served with a side of karmic justice. The crystal champagne glasses clinked as my stepmother, Diana, raised her third toast of the evening. To my darling husband's retirement, she proclaimed, her designer dress sparkling under the ballroom lights. And to selling this tired old company for something more exciting. I watched my father's face fall slightly, though he tried to hide it behind a smile. Chen Manufacturing had been his life's work, built from nothing over 30 years. Now, at his own retirement party, he was watching his trophy wife of 5 years plan its dismantling. But Diana wasn't done. Her eyes found me across the crowded room, glittering with malice. "Of course, some people thought they'd inherit this company," she said loudly, making sure everyone could hear. Poor little Alexandra, thinking Daddy would hand over a multi-million-dollar business to someone who can't even keep a relationship longer than 6 months. The room grew uncomfortably quiet. Several board members shifted awkwardly, while others pretended to be fascinated by their drinks. My father just stared at his shoes, saying nothing, as usual. It's for the best, really, Diana continued, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. Running a company requires maturity, experience, a proper family image. She patted her perfectly flat stomach meaningfully, a reminder of her recent announcement that she was trying to give my father a real heir. I felt my cheeks burn, but kept my face neutral. Let her have her moment. She had no idea what was coming. Would you like to say something, Alexandra? Diana asked sweetly. Perhaps congratulate your father on his retirement and his wise decision about the company's future. I stood slowly, smoothing my black blazer. At 28, I was young for a CFO, but I earned every step up the corporate ladder. Not that Diana knew that. She thought I was just another middle manager kept around out of my father's guilt after my mother's death. Actually, I said, my voice clear and steady, I do have something to say. Diana's smirk widened as I walked to the center of the room. She probably expected tears, pleading, maybe even a scene. Instead, I pulled out a thick envelope from my briefcase. 6 months ago, I began addressing the whole room. Chen Manufacturing underwent a quiet restructuring. The board approved it unanimously. I glanced at several board members who nodded slightly. My father transferred majority ownership to a new holding company. Diana's smirk faltered slightly. My father finally looked up, confusion crossing his face. The holding company is called NLW Enterprises, I continued, enjoying the way Diana's perfectly made-up face scrunched in confusion. NLW stands for Mary Louise Wong, my mother's name. Now Diana's champagne glass was shaking slightly. What are you talking about? She demanded. I opened the envelope and began laying out documents on the nearest table. These papers show that I own 67% of Chen Manufacturing through NLW Enterprises. My father retains 30%, and the remaining 3% is divided among key employees. The room erupted in chaos. Diana lunged for the papers, her expensive manicure scratching at the legal documents as if she could make them disappear. This is impossible, she shrieked. James, tell her this is impossible. But my father was smiling, really smiling, for the first time in years. It's all legal, Diana, he said quietly. Alexandra earned this. She's been practically running the company for the past 2 years while I've been distracted. He looked at me apologetically. But, Diana sputtered, her face turning an alarming shade of red beneath her makeup. We have plans. The house in the Hamptons, the yacht club membership. About that, I said, pulling out another document. As majority owner, I've been reviewing all company expenses, including the rather generous consulting fees being paid to your brother's fake marketing firm, and the business trips that somehow always ended up at luxury spas. Diana went pale. You wouldn't dare. I already have. The board has approved a full audit. The police are very interested in some of the more creative accounting you and your brother arranged. James. Diana whirled on my father. Are you going to let her do this to me, your wife? My father stood straighter than I'd seen him stand since my mother died. My late wife, Mary, helped me build this company, he said firmly. She made me promise it would go to our daughter when the time was right. Alexandra has proven herself more than capable. And you, he shook his head sadly, you proved yourself too, just not in the way you intended. Diana's carefully constructed world was crumbling. Her designer purse fell open as she grabbed for her phone, spilling its contents across the floor. Among them was a small USB drive that I recognized, one that had gone missing from my father's office months ago, containing proprietary company designs. Looking for a buyer for our trade secrets? I asked quietly, picking up the drive. That would explain all those lunch meetings with our competitors. Diana's face contorted with rage. She raised her hand as if to slap me, but my father caught her wrist. Security will escort you out, I said calmly. Your personal belongings will be shipped to you, after they're checked for any other company property, of course. And Diana? I smiled sweetly, channeling her own fake sympathy. Don't worry about the prenup. It has a lovely clause about corporate espionage. As security led a screaming Diana away, the room buzzed with excitement. Board members came to congratulate me. Employees who'd suffered under Diana's reign looked relieved, and my father. My father pulled me into a tight hug. I'm so sorry, Alex, he whispered. I've been such a fool. Your mother would be so proud of you. I hugged him back, breathing in the familiar scent of his aftershave. I know, Dad. I know. But our moment of reconciliation was interrupted by an urgent call. Diana's brother had been caught trying to delete files from the company servers, and something told me this was just the beginning of the storm. I touched my mother's old wedding ring, which I wore on a chain around my neck. "Ready for this, Dad?" He squeezed my shoulder. "Lead the way, CEO." As we walked to the elevator, I could still hear Diana's shrieks from the lobby, but I wasn't worried. I'd learned from the best, my mother's business acumen, my father's innovation, and yes, even Diana's cutthroat ambition. They'd all taught me valuable lessons. Now it was time to show them exactly what those lessons had created. The morning after the retirement party, I arrived at Chen Manufacturing earlier than usual. The sun hadn't even risen, but I found my father already in his office, sorting through years of memories. "Couldn't sleep either?" I asked, helping him pack a framed photo of him and Mom at the company's grand opening. "Been thinking about your mother," he said softly. "She always said you had her business instincts. Watch out for that girl, she'd tell me. She'll outshine us both someday." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. It was Marcus, our head of its security. "Ms. Chen, we have a situation. Multiple attempts to access our servers from unauthorized locations. And you need to see this." Within minutes, I was staring at my computer screen in disbelief. Someone had leaked confidential company emails to our biggest competitors. But these weren't just any emails. They were carefully selected to make it look like Chen Manufacturing had been engaging in corporate espionage. "Diana," I muttered. "She's trying to trigger an industry investigation." "That's not all," Marcus said grimly. "She's also leaked evidence suggesting your takeover was illegal. The press is already picking up the story." Right on cue, my phone exploded with notifications. "Tech Harris in hostile takeover scandal," read one headline. "Family drama threatens industry giant," declared another. Dad looked stricken. "Alex, I'm so sorry. If I hadn't brought Diana into our lives." "No, Dad," I cut him off. "This isn't your fault. But I know whose fault it is." I pressed the intercom. "Janet, call an emergency board meeting. And get me Victoria Chen on the line." "Your cousin the federal prosecutor?" Dad asked, surprised. I smiled grimly. Diana wanted to play dirty. Time to show her what that really means. The next few hours were chaos. Diana had gone on a morning news show, playing the part of the concerned wife perfectly. "I just want to protect my husband's legacy," she said tearfully. "Alexandra's hostile takeover has devastated him. And now with these allegations of corporate espionage." But Diana had made one crucial mistake. In her rush to destroy me, she'd used the stolen USB drive to access company files, leaving a clear digital trail. "Got her," Marcus announced triumphantly. "Every unauthorized access, every leaked document, it all traces back to her brother's IP address." And he grinned. "We found something else. Emails between Diana and our biggest competitor, dating back months before she married your father." The pieces clicked into place. She targeted Dad from the beginning, I realized. The whole marriage was a corporate raid. "The oldest trick in the book," Dad said quietly, and I fell for it completely. Just then, my cousin Victoria called back. After hearing the situation, she was silent for a moment. "You know," she said finally, "we've been investigating Diana's brother's firm for months. Tax fraud, money laundering. But we could never prove where the money was coming from. This could be exactly what we need." "Do it," I said firmly. The next day, as Diana was preparing for another TV interview to slander me, federal agents raided her brother's office. By evening, both siblings were in custody, and the truth was splashed across every business news channel. Corporate Rahid Daridi, CEO's wife arrested in manufacturing espionage scandal. Family Feud reveals years-long corporate conspiracy. Young CEO saves family company from hidden takeover. But the real satisfaction came when we found Diana's prenup violation clause was just the tip of the iceberg. The federal investigation revealed offshore accounts, shell companies, and a pattern of targeting wealthy business owners for marriage scams. 7 other victims, Victoria told me. All wealthy men, all with valuable companies. You and your father were supposed to be number 8. In the end, Diana and her brother faced federal charges for corporate espionage, fraud, and money laundering. The evidence was overwhelming. But before they were led away, I visited Diana in custody. "How?" she demanded, her designer outfit replaced by an orange jumpsuit. How did you know what I was planning? I pulled out an old photo, my mother at my age, standing proudly in front of Chen Manufacturing. Because my mother dealt with people like you all the time. She taught me to spot the vultures circling our company. That's why she made Dad promise to train me properly to protect her legacy. I leaned closer. You never had a chance, Diana. You were playing checkers. I was playing chess. 3 months later, Chen Manufacturing was stronger than ever. Our stock price had soared after the scandal, as clients appreciated how we'd handled the crisis. Dad was truly retired now, traveling the world and sending me postcards from places Mom had always wanted to visit. As for me, I hung Mom's photo in my office, the CEO's office, right next to the latest company achievement, innovation in leadership. Alexandra Chen named youngest CEO of the year. But my favorite moment came during a charity gala when I overheard two society women gossiping. Did you hear about James Chen's daughter? The one who exposed that gold diggers conspiracy. They say she's twice as brilliant as her mother was, and 3 times as ruthless when crossed. I smiled, touching Mom's ring around my neck. They had no idea. In business, as in life, the best revenge isn't serving it cold. It's building something so strong that no one dares to try destroying it again. Dad called that evening from Greece. Your mother would be so proud, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Not just of the company, but of who you've become. Looking out over the city from my office window, I thought about everything, the lessons, the loss, the victories. I learned from the best, I replied, both of you. After all, that's what real family legacy is about. Not the money or the company, but the strength to protect what matters, the wisdom to spot true from false, and the courage to fight for what's yours. Deanna had wanted to play games with our company. Instead, she'd helped make me exactly the CEO Chen Manufacturing needed, one who could spot a threat from a mile away and handle it with the perfect mix of grace and steel, just like Mom would have done.